This is our presentation for Wong Kim Ark's story for Group 1. Wong Kim Ark was born in the United States in San Francisco, California in the year 1873 from parents who had immigrated from China. His parents, Wei Li and Wang Si-ping, had decided to return back to China when Wong Kim Ark was only 8 years old. Later in life, in 1889, Wong had traveled to China and met Yi Shi, who he had married and had their first child with together before returning to the United States in 1890. He then went back to China, having a second child with his wife in December of 1894. When Wong had later returned to the United States in 1895, he was denied entry back into the country by immigration, claiming that he was not a United States citizen. They had argued that because his parents were immigrants from China, they weren't naturalized and were subject to the Chinese Exclusion Act. Because of this, Wong Kim Ark was not entitled to birthright citizenship under the 14th Amendment, therefore was not a citizen of the United States. Obviously, Wong Kim Ark was not happy with this and decided to challenge this decision regarding his citizenship. Wong and his attorney had filed a writ of habeas corpus in which they both argued that he was unlawfully convicted and detained. They also argued that as a person born within the jurisdiction of the United States, Wong was automatically a United States citizen under the 14th Amendment, regardless if his parents were legal citizens of the United States or not. In the landmark Supreme Court case of the United States versus Wong Kim Ark of 1898, the Supreme Court held a 6-2 decision ruling in his favor. The Supreme Court had decided that even though Wong Kim Ark was a person born in the United States to Chinese parents who weren't naturalized, he was still indeed a citizen because of the birthright citizenship guaranteed to him by the 14th Amendment. However, there were also some dissenting opinions in this case. These dissents came from Supreme Court Justices Melville Fuller and John M. Harlan. Both of these justices argued that the phrase "subject to the jurisdiction thereof" in the 14th Amendment should be interpreted to exclude children of non-citizen immigrants, particularly those who were subject to legal restrictions like those in the Chinese Exclusion Act. They argued that since Wong Kim Ark's parents were not eligible for citizenship due to their status as Chinese immigrants, their children, which in this case referring to Wong Kim Ark, should also be excluded and ineligible to have birthright citizenship in the United States. This is a picture of a newspaper article about the Supreme Court's decision in the Wong Kim Ark case. It briefly talks about how the decision was finally made to confirm Wong Kim Ark's citizenship in the United States. This picture is depicting a legal document of Wong Kim Ark, which certifies his citizenship in the United States. This picture is showing the 9 Supreme Court justices during the Wong Kim Ark case of 1898. One of the justices, named Justice McKenna, did not participate in the decision-making of this case, which is why it was only a 6-2 decision. These 3 pictures are depicting the Chinese Exclusion Act. The Chinese Exclusion Act was a law that prohibited Chinese immigrants and laborers from entering the United States. This law was the first and only major law in the United States to ban immigration for a specific nationality, which was the Chinese people. These 3 pictures are depicting the angry mobs that the Chinese immigrants would face in the United States. These angry mobs would bring acts of violence such as shootings, stabbings, and lynchings. The angry mobs committed these acts of violence because they were mad at the Chinese immigrants for taking their jobs. Because of this violence that the angry mobs brought, Wong Kim Ark's parents had decided to leave the United States and move back to China when Wong Kim Ark was such a young age. This picture is showing the guards that would prevent the Chinese immigrants from traveling into the United States. When these Chinese immigrants arrived, if they failed to prove that they were a United States citizen, they would be deported back into China. So that is pretty much it for our presentation for Wong Kim Ark's story for Group 1. This is our reference page of where we got all our information for our presentation.